Hi, I'm Tash. Welcome to Tash's Library. Today's video is going to be looking at 10 series that I plan to start in 2023. So I have a lot that I'd like to start, but these are priorities for me. It was quite hard to cut it down to 10, but I figured that this would make for a more contained video. The first series I plan to begin is The Divine Cities by Robert Jackson Bennett. So this is a trilogy, and the first book is City of Stairs. Now this has almost made it on to my TBR so many times, but it keeps getting shafted by something else. So 2023 is going to be the year that I read this book. I've had it for so long and it sounds so good. The city of Bulakov once wielded the powers of the gods to conquer the world, enslaving and brutalizing millions until its divine protectors were killed. Now Bulakov's history has been censored and erased, its citizens subjugated. But the surreal landscape of the city itself, forever altered by the thousands of miracles its guardians once worked upon it, stands as a haunting reminder of its former supremacy. Into this broken city steps Shara Tivani. Officially, the unassuming young woman is just another junior diplomat sent by Bulakov's oppressors. Unofficially, she is one of her country's most accomplished spies, dispatched along with her terrifying secretary Sigrid to solve a murder. But as Shara pursues the killer, she starts to suspect that the beings who ruled this terrible place may not be as dead as they seem, and that Bulakov's cruel reign may not yet be over. A tale of vast conspiracies, dead gods, and buried histories. City of Stairs is a gripping spy novel and an original work of fantasy. I am looking forward to this one a lot. Second series I really want to prioritize is N.K. Jemisin's The Broken Earth trilogy. I actually own the first book. I received it for my birthday, and that was a couple of months ago. So it still hasn't made it on, but I'm going to prioritize this so badly because this sounds pretty cool. So the first book is the 5th season, and this kind of sounds like a dystopian type thing, but I don't like dystopian normally, but this sounds very interesting because it's got earth magic. According to the synopsis, it says, "This is the way the world ends again. 3 terrible things happen in a single day. Essen, a woman living an ordinary life in a small town, comes home to find that her husband has brutally murdered their son and kidnapped their daughter. Well, that's a bad day. Meanwhile, mighty Sanzi, the world-spanning empire whose innovations have been civilization's bedrock for 1,000 years, collapses as most of its citizens are murdered to serve a madman's vengeance. That's an even worse day. And worst of all, because that's not bad enough, across the heart of the vast continent known as the Stillness, a great red rift has been torn into the heart of the earth, spewing ash enough to darken the sky for years or centuries. Now Essen must pursue the wreckage of her family through a deadly dying land." Wow. Okay. So that sounds pretty cool. And I have heard it does use earth magic, and you've got me there. I love anything geology based. I also finally want to get to the Dandelion Dynasty. I actually own the first 3 books and I haven't read them yet. I almost started and then I don't know why I haven't. So this is by Ken Liu, and the first book is The Grace of Kings, and I think everyone's heard of this book. It just sounds cool, and I've got really cool covers, and it's so exciting. And the synopsis says, "Wily, charming Kunigaru, a bandit, and stern, fearless Mata Zindu, the son of a deposed duke, seem like polar opposites. Yet, in the uprising against the emperor, the two quickly become the best of friends after a series of adventures fighting against vast conscripted armies, silk-draped airships," that sounds cool, "and shape-shifting gods. Once the emperor has been overthrown, however, they each find themselves a leader of separate factions, 2 sides with very different ideas about how the world should be run and the meaning of justice." That sounds so cool. Silk-draped airships, shape-shifting gods. I've heard this is really epic, and I'm almost ashamed that I haven't read it yet. Another one that has been sitting on my shelf forever, and I don't even have an excuse for this one because I actually own the entire series. This is the Rhyrea Revelations by Michael J. Sullivan. This is a trilogy. However, it was originally out as 6 books and they've now combined 2 books into one. That makes sense at all. But anyway, the first book is now called The Theft of Swords. And this follows Royce Melbourne, a skilled thief, and his mercenary partner, Hadrian Blackwater, who make a profitable living carrying out dangerous assignments for conspiring nobles until they are hired to pilfer a famed sword. What appears to be just a simple job finds them framed for the murder of the king and trapped in a conspiracy that uncovers a plot far greater than the mere overthrow of a tiny kingdom. This sounds really good. I've heard there's really great banter between the two of them. It's like a true romance. And it just sounds like an epic fantasy with sword fighting and magic and adventure and myth and legend. And I don't know why I haven't read it yet. The series that has been on my shelf the longest without being touched, is the Licanius trilogy by James Islington. And I don't even know why I haven't read this yet because it sounds so good, but I guess they do look a bit daunting. The first book is The Shadow of What Was Lost, and it sounds awesome. So it has been 20 years since the end of the war. The dictatorial augurs, once thought of as almost as gods, were overthrown and wiped out during the conflict, their much feared powers mysteriously failing them. Those who had ruled under them, men and women with a lesser ability known as the Gift, avoided the augurs' fate only by submitting themselves to the rebellion's 4 tenets. A representation of these laws is now written into the flesh of any who use the Gift, forcing those so marked into absolute obedience. So as a student of the Gifted, Davian suffers the consequences of a war fought and lost before he was born. Despised by most beyond the school walls, he and those around him are all but prisoners as they attempt to learn control of the Gift. Worse, as Davian struggles with his lessons, he knows that there is no further to fall if he cannot pass his final tests. And when he discovers the ability to wield the forbidden power of the augurs, he sets into motion a chain of events that will change everything, and an ancient enemy long thought defeated begins to stir. It sounds good. I've heard there's like a little bit of a time travel element as well. And who doesn't like a bit of time travel, right? I just need to read this because it's been on my shelf for so long. And it's not even because I haven't wanted to read it. It's just that something else turns up and I can't resist shiny new things. And so this poor series that I've wanted to read for so long just kind of gets pushed aside. And 2023, this will change. Moving on to science fiction. I do want to read some Adrian Tchaikovsky. Now, I have read Dogs of War, and I didn't love that, but I did like his concepts. And I think I need something a bit more standard sci-fi. So I'm thinking I really want to pick up Children of Time. And this is a trilogy, and the first book is Children of Time. And this sounds really cool. So the last remnants of the human race left a dying Earth, desperate to find a new home among the stars. Following in the footsteps of their ancestors, they discover the greatest treasure of the past age, a world terraformed and prepared for human life. But all is not right in this new Eden. In the long years since the planet was abandoned, the work of its architects has borne disastrous fruit. The planet is not waiting for them pristine and unoccupied. New masters have turned it from a refuge into mankind's worst nightmare. Now 2 civilizations are on a collision course, both testing the boundaries of what they will do to survive. As the fate of humanity hangs in the balance, who are the true heirs of this new Earth? It's so cool. Basically, we have contact with aliens, that first contact idea. terraforming, evolution, all sorts of things happening in this one. This sounds great. I've heard amazing things about it. Another one I have had recommended to me a number of times is Lightbringer by Brent Weeks, and this I believe is 5 books, and the first book is The Black Prism. Now I have heard that the final book isn't wonderful, but the magic sounds really cool, and I've heard that the beginning is so amazing, and I want to give it a go. I want to see what this is all about. The synopsis says, Guile is the prism, the most powerful man in the world. He is high priest and emperor, a man whose power, wit, and charm are all that preserves a tenuous peace. Yet prisms never last, and Guile knows exactly how long he has left to live. That would suck. When Guile discovers he has a son, born in a far kingdom after the war that put him in power, he must decide how much he's willing to pay to protect a secret that could tear his world apart. Now, from what I've heard, the magic system is based on color, which sounds cool. I love magic systems like that, so I'm looking forward to picking this one up. I also really want to read Cixin Liu's Remembrance of Earth's Past. This is a trilogy beginning with the 3-body problem. Now, I have heard that this is not great on characterization, but I'm okay with that because one of my favorite books of 2022 has been Foundation, and that wasn't great on characterization either, but I love the ideas. And I think this will be similar, where the ideas and the science are massive and big and impactful at the cost of characterization. And I'm okay with that. And the synopsis says, set against the backdrop of China's Cultural Revolution, a secret military project sends signals into space to establish contact with aliens. I love alien contact. An alien civilization on the brink of destruction captures the signal and plans to invade Earth. Well, that sucks. Meanwhile on Earth, different camps start forming, planning to either welcome the superior beings and help them take over a world seen as corrupt, or to fight against the invasion. So to me, that already starts speaking to morality and ethical dilemmas and how you make a decision like that. I plan to read it, and I own all 3. You can see them there. And finally, I want to read Sun Eater by Christopher Ruocchio. And this is 5 books, and I believe it might have some extra novellas. And the first book is Empire of Silence. This I've heard such amazing things about, and I do own the first book, and I definitely plan to read it next year. This is described as a merging of space opera and epic fantasy. My 2 favorite things. How can I go wrong with this one? It follows Hadrian Marlowe, who's revered as a hero and despised as a murderer, and on the wrong planet at the right time for the best reasons. Hadrian Marlowe started down a path that could only end in fire. The galaxy remembers him as a hero, the man who burned every last alien Silson from the sky. They remember him as a monster, the devil who destroyed a sun, casually annihilating 4 billion human lives. That's big. Even the emperor himself sees him as a monster. But Adrian was not a hero. He was not a monster. He was not even a soldier. And that's it. They are my 10 priority series to begin in 2023. I'm hoping to get to others, but these 10 will be read even if I only read the first book. But hopefully, I mean, most of them are trilogies, so I'm kind of hoping that I might be able to finish them up in 2023, and hopefully by the end of the year, some of these will become my all-time favorites. Who knows? So thank you for watching my video. If you like it, please subscribe. It makes me super, super happy. And until I see you next time, take care.